Hey there. Thank you guys for being with me today. I am here with my special guest, Andrew Chesnutt. He is an authority architect. Now, as you know, I love to talk about how it started and how it's going. And so, Andrew, first off, thank you for being here with me today. I'm really excited to share a little bit of your backstory and what you're working on now. In order to get us kicked off, why don't you go ahead and just tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got started as an adult in the career business world?
So I, I'm one of those people who have had a ton of different types of jobs. Like it was interesting to me and it seemed kind of fun. Hey, let's go try this out for a little bit and see if it works. So I had a really broad, I was trying to find my niche and trying to find one specific thing. So I had lived in Cleveland for 7 years, moved back to Buffalo in 2006 and said, I'm going to find whatever job. I've never worked in a call center. Let's go see what that is. Because I'd never done it. I was curious, used them a lot, still something in the back of my mind. And so I went out, got a job at a call center. It was working for a large mortgage bank at the time. This was pre 2008. So I got to watch the whole thing come down from
Oh,
the
yeah, nice.
inside
You were involved in it.
as a trainer for the second largest mortgage company in the nation at that point. But I get in there and I found out I really had a gift for this. I liked it. I liked working with people. It was
Good.
very fast paced. It kept my attention, which is something that was difficult, you know, and I learned a lot about mortgages and these various different things about how they work and all of this. And I'm like, this is something I want to latch on to. So 6 months in, I decided to apply for a job as a corporate trainer in that department. I was 3 days late from the due date, still handed it anyway, and still got it.
Oh,
So no,
nice.
so it wouldn't, yeah. And I spent the next 7 years doing that. And I worked in pharma. I worked in, in healthcare industry. I worked in mortgages, finance through a variety of different large companies and found that I was really good at it and I loved doing it. And one of the things I was good at was taking high level information and breaking it down so people could understand it. I could take these
Yeah.
huge things about mortgages and the fact that a mortgage isn't really the mortgage. There's a loan involved, trying to explain all
Yeah.
this stuff and teach people how to do it. So I spent that awesome job, really loved it. After 7 years in that company, I went on to go then start my own company, Nickel City Learning Solutions. That was the first company I founded. And that was all about going into the corporate world and building online learning. Because up until that point, I was a corporate trainer. So I was at the corporate level by the
Yeah.
time I left my job. And I was doing Zoom calls before Zoom was a twinkle in its mother's eye.
Right.
So that was my thing. And so had been online or doing some sort of virtual training for most of that 7 years. So the transition was pretty easy. I am a nerd. It's kind of my thing. My very first professional job was for a small med tech company. We were doing SaaS before SaaS was a thing.
Yeah.
You know, um, so that I went after 7 years, started my own company, and found a bunch of clients, found a great group to get into. But I finally got to the point though, where I think we all get to this point. It was probably about the 10-year mark into learning and development where you realize you see all of the flaws.
Yeah.
Now, I still love the industry, but I think a lot of what goes on in corporate world is what I've heard referred to as academic assault,
Mhm.
where it's train. I took a training the other day for a large company and it was literally somebody reading off a slide. And
Yeah,
it was a
so
really
boring.
bad text. It was terrible. That is academic assault. So I realized that the industry wasn't going to change too much and I needed to pivot. Like I had just gotten, I tried to go out in new directions. I got a videographer. I got a Hollywood screenwriter to help me with some of this stuff. And the market wasn't there because these companies just
Yeah.
want to pop this out pretty quickly. So I needed to pivot. And up until that point, there were a few jobs I never thought I would ever have in my life. And one was sales and one was marketing. Never thought I would ever have them. Come to find out, I'm really good at both of them.
Yeah.
And marketing, I fell in love with. I read Russell Brunson's books. I think this is all where we start,
Yeah.
read all three books and thought, this is really cool. And it takes what I was good at, being able to speak and take those high level concepts and break them down so the public can understand it and completely moves them into a new field that you never make that connection. We were talking beforehand that we never really make that connection between learning and development and marketing, but there's a huge
Yeah.
connection.
Mhm.
And I found my worlds. I started off doing keynotes for people. And so TED Talks, stuff like that, helping them write that and get that down, and then went into the more standard marketing webinars. And so I'm currently on a role right now of helping with podcasts and webinars and specifically to make them not pitchy.
Yeah.
Because beforehand we were talking about where webinars can get really pitch slappy, and
Yeah.
really high pressure. And let's see if there's a better way to do it because I like bucking the norm because I'm an entrepreneur and that's what it is. So yeah, 20 years into the learning industry at this point, 10 years with my own company, helped build two seven-figure companies at this point. So I've
Help
been
me
able to
figure
go
out a
through.
timeline. So,
Sure, man.
call center, when was that?
Yes. That was started in 2006.
Okay.
So
What did you do before that?
oh, I was a server for a long time. I was the GM for a club in Cleveland. I was a junior programmer at a medical company. I was a salesperson for Circuit City. I was
So you did all kinds
I
of you
had a
just did all
bunch of
kinds of
stuff.
stuff.
I had all kinds of stuff. Yeah,
That's
exactly.
cool. Okay, so
And yeah,
2006, you did the call center.
yeah,
7 they lasted after the crash, I guess, because you were
they did.
there for a
They
while?
did. Yes, they did.
Okay,
I had
that's
moved on to some
decent.
other projects. And so what it was is it wasn't just in the mortgage industry. I had moved on to banking and some other stuff that
Okay.
was not quite involved with that. Yeah.
But in that company, you were able to switch roles too.
Yes.
That's where you
Yeah.
started getting into the more of the training side.
Yep.
And then from that job, did you go to your own company? Like, you left
Yep.
that and started your own?
Yep. That was it. I was laid off and had to make a pivot. And at that moment, I always had that in the back of my mind that I was going to start a company. I tried to start a company when I was 16 years old. It was a video
Yeah.
production company. I had everything laid out, knew exactly how much money I needed for it. I mean, had just gone through a deep dive. So there was always something in the back of my mind that I was going to be in self-employed. I think the major thing was I didn't have something to kick me to say, you need to
Yeah.
make this pivot. And that was the point where I had to stop and say, okay, great. I'm laid off. I went out and found some temp jobs. They were pretty easy to find, but there wasn't really anything that was fulfilling.
Yeah.
And so I realized that something else had to change. And at that moment, I was in a position where I could take the risk of going out on my own. And I finally said, screw it, let's do this.
You kinda
Let's see
had
what
to
happens.
at that point,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So that's what's interesting about making changes in life. Sometimes you're
Yeah.
pretty comfortable.
Mhm.
And, I know there's some cliche terms, like, you got the willingness to change has to be less comfortable than staying the same or, blah, 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 same stuff. But you were just kinda given this opportunity, we could reframe it. You didn't lose your job, you didn't get laid off, you were finally handed that opportunity to create the thing that you may not have ever created because you were so comfortable
Yeah.
doing
Yeah.
the other stuff.
And it certainly didn't look like it at the time. I had a
It
couple
did
of toy
not look
toys
like a
for it
great
going,
opportunity, did it? No.
no, it did not. I was scared to death because for me, I liked that stability of having a regular job. But what I didn't realize was there were so many other better things out there than a standard traditional job. Just there was a lot more out there for me and a lot more things I could learn and a lot more I could grow as a person because I think that's something we do in entrepreneurship is if you walk into entrepreneurship with any sort of issues or any sort of fears or any sort of things that are holding you back, you're forced to confront them. And
Absolutely.
that was my first step into that.
Yeah.
And I also realized that being comfortable is not always a good thing. The really cool stuff comes
No,
out of the
right.
discomfort. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. When you're not
I
quite sure and you
also
don't know what to
think
do and you're just kind of guessing. Yeah.
I think it's also important that not everyone is meant to be or cut out to be an entrepreneur,
Yeah.
right? There is nothing wrong with having a job or a
Mhm.
career, especially if you find fulfillment in it and joy and happiness and whatever else you're going after for your life. So I think I see a lot in this space of like, oh, you just got to quit and burn all the boats and do all the things and go for it. Like, sometimes that's not the best advice.
Yeah.
And it's really on a person by person basis. So that's what I love to share stories like yours. It's like you had this great career going
Mhm.
and then it got ripped out from under you and you
Yep.
had to figure it out.
Yeah.
Not everyone has that big, like, pivot moment,
Mhm.
but many people do, and
And
some people have them and they kind of ignore them.
yeah. And
So
and you said something
I
really
think it's
important.
just important, like, not everyone is meant to just go out and create their own thing.
Very true. I've got a good friend of mine who's I don't think he's ever actually had a regular job. He's been an entrepreneur for over 30 years at this point, built massive companies. And he's like, I think 4% of people are actually wired to be entrepreneurs. And the it's not that we're all kind of wired differently. Like you
Mhm.
can tell when you're young that you have that entrepreneur side of things. I see that my niece, she's gonna be 13 here at the end of May. And I can see that the skill sets, very risk averse, really creative. Let's go do this now and then we'll figure it out later. So that we call it ADHD. There's actually some skill sets around that are different than
Yeah.
this traditional job. And I think I think you said something really important as well, because in my entrepreneurial journey, I've been forced to just figure it out. There wasn't a rule book. There wasn't any way to do it. There wasn't somebody in my life who could say, this is exactly what you do. I'm an entrepreneur and I've done this before. I've had to figure it out and I've failed a ton of times. But it's that it forces you to get a huge amount of resilience. It forces you to be able to face it and go, I don't really know what's going to happen tomorrow, but I'm going to figure this out. And there is a
Yeah.
huge amount of power involved in that, because now you're
Have
not
there been
really.
any times in this journey of having your own business, being the entrepreneur, that you're like, you know, I think I might just want to get a job again?
Oh, Lord, so many.
I ask that because I
So
know the answer for most people, if they're being honest, then yes. It is. I just want to highlight that it is completely normal
yeah.
while you're building your thing or after having built your thing to just sometimes say, "Man, I wish I could just get a paycheck. Just show up. It'd be so much easier."
That thought
But
enters
then we
my
know
mind.
that it would suck your life out. Like, it would just, like,
Yes.
drain your soul.
I would say once a month, I have that thought.
Once a month, oh
Once a month, I
my.
have that thought. It always goes through the back of your mind, especially when things get difficult, especially when it's like, "Screw it, I'm just gonna blow everything up and go out and get a job
Yeah,
again,"
let
and
someone
those
else handle all this stuff. I'll
I don't
just
wanna deal with
go
it.
show up
Yeah.
and collect my money.
It sounds awful, but I have this saying, and again, I heard somebody say this a long time ago, and I just loved it. They're like, "You're not really an entrepreneur unless you have sat with your head in your hands at 3 o'clock in the morning going, 'What the hell have I done?'"
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
that's the moment when you realize the baptism of fire. But there's been a lot of times when it's been like that, when things haven't gone well. I think, again, going back to what I had said, though, understanding that no matter what is happening, you're going to figure it out. It's gonna be
Mhm.
hard, it's gonna be tough, it's gonna be stressful. Um, a good friend of mine and I have a running joke that entrepreneurs' stress levels are what most people feel is like panic. That's our
Yeah.
baseline.
That's our normal.
It's true. But it's in those moments that you really find out who you are. And so let's go through. I mean, one of them, I had a software rollout for one of the companies that I had helped build. And we had spent six figures on this rollout and had, rented a really great studio, whole thing going around it, had a bunch of people who were going to show up, had it live streamed all over the place. And 2 weeks before this happened, I talked to our developer and found that even though we had been keeping up with this and, managing it well, there was a massive miscommunication. There was a huge piece of functionality that wasn't ready yet. And we ended up in a situation where literally an hour before we were ready to roll this thing out nationally, I was on the phone with the developer doing testing right up until the end.
Yeah.
We had to use a video for the live walkthrough,
Oh,
because we
no.
weren't 100% sure that the site wasn't going to crash in the middle of
Uh-huh.
it. And that was one of those moments afterwards where I just had to sit back and go, do I really want to do this anymore? So that
Oh,
was
I
one,
know.
this one where.
How vital has it been for you?
Mhm.
So, I'll preface this that entrepreneurship can be lonely
Yeah.
and very isolating.
Yes.
How imperative has it been for you to have a network? I know you've mentioned a few people that you have friends, you have a running joke, you have these relationships. How
Yeah.
important have those been for you personally to keep going, to find success, to generate ideas, to have a sounding board for when you want to burn it all down? Like, how imperative has that been for you?
Absolutely mission critical. I know it sounds really trite to say when people say your network is your net worth. And I think part of that is networking. It's always good to have people around. You've got your outer tribe, but then I have three people who are my inner core. Like, they know parts about me that people will not know, and they have seen me at my worst. And, I found these people really early on, thank God, because it just makes things easier. Now I have another entrepreneur in my world who I can tell them, here are the things that are going wrong, and they have already lived this. They understand it.
Yeah.
your family is not going to be that person. They're going to love you to death, and no matter how supportive they are, it what we're doing is so my mother, I love my mother to death, very close with my mom, but she was in private practice. She was a psychologist, so she had owned her own business. But what I'm doing is so far outside of her experience, it's
Yeah.
difficult to have any sort of feedback. And she tries and she gives me some good feedback. I mean, honestly, I get a lot of good, she's the person I go to sometimes when I just need to vent about stuff. But what I'm doing is so far outside of her universe that it's hard for her to give any kind of good information on it. You need somebody who's an entrepreneur in there, and you build these relationships by giving. I mean, that's part of what this is.
Yeah.
I just gave value to these folks, got into the world, and now I have my entrepreneur inner tribe. But it is absolutely mission critical because you're right, it's lonely. We oftentimes have to
Yeah.
make decisions that are hard, and we don't have a whole lot of input that we can get from people. We have a lot of noise around us, and a lot of people don't understand what we do or why we're so intense, why we're working answering emails at 3 p.m. on a Sunday. There's
Or why it
reasons.
matters. What's the
Yeah,
big
yeah,
deal?
yeah,
One
yeah.
of the people that I love to follow is Daniel Priestley,
Mhm.
and he mentioned on a call today that your environment dictates performance.
Oh, yeah.
And so I suffer from, we'll call it, uh, isolation. It's
Yeah.
really easy for me. I have Life 360 to,
Mhm,
follow my kids and whatever. They can follow me.
mhm,
Safety, and the nosiness. Um, I looked at my Life 360 on last, I don't know, like say to Monday. It was Monday this
mhm.
week. I hadn't left my house since Thursday the previous week, and the only reason I did was to get groceries to feed my children. So, like,
Yep,
and I looked at it and was like, "Dang, that's kinda sad, but is how I like it." So, I mean, so isolation
yep,
is like I self-isolate, I
yep,
guess. And COVID didn't help with that, right? We just got kinda used to staying home, and so I just kinda kept going home, like, I just
yep,
stayed here.
yep.
But
And I'm laughing
the
I want to explain
environment dictates the performance. It matters who there's so much negativity, there's
yeah,
so much distraction, there's so much especially in if you have people around you that are not entrepreneurs,
for sure.
they don't understand this drive to be successful, and many find it as a negative thing.
Yeah.
But it's not. We're here on a mission to help people, right?
Mhm,
In one way or another, in our own little way. And having those people around you that aren't your mom saying, "Oh, you can do anything. You're amazing," around you to tell you the truth
yeah,
and to call you out on your stuff
yeah,
and to challenge you to keep going, I think
mm,
is super important. So that's why I asked, like, how important has it been for you? Because it's been super, vital for me as well.
yeah. It's one of those things, like, my inner circle, the few people that are really in that inner circle, candor is our love language. Like, if they hate something I'm doing, they will tell me, "Dude,
Yeah.
that." I can remember I was trying to do one of those AI doubles because I it just as an experiment to see what happened. So I did a video on it, had the everything together, wrote all the copy for it, had it do it, sent it to a really close friend of mine, and he's like, "That absolutely sucks. That is like the most inauthentic thing I have ever seen, and you're talking about authenticity? No."
Yeah, yeah.
Just like almost his exact words, like just point blank blunt. He's very, very close friend, so he could, we have that rapport. But having somebody to be able to say, "No, that's not," just either
Don't go
that's
there.
not going to work, or
Yeah,
"Dude, that's actually good." Now I know when he says, "Hey, that's really good," it is actually good.
right, he's not
And
just
but
blowing
having those people
smoke.
to bounce stuff back and just to kind of
Yeah,
say, "Here's what I need," here's the and when I say it's a love language, it really is because he cares enough about me to see me succeed, and I do exactly the same thing. I called him out on something the other day too. We need that person that we know is giving us that feedback because they're entrepreneurs and they know what they're doing. They have probably failed at this and know where you're going wrong, and you can't see the label from the inside of the bottle.
yep.
And it's hard sometimes. You're so deep in your company that it's hard to be able to see outside of that. Having somebody to be able to come in and say, "Here's what here that sucks and here's why," is really important.
How did you find those people for you?
So Germany specifically was a random snowboarding event. I was out there with a couple of people that I know, and this was probably 5 or 6 years ago. And so he tagged along with someone, and we absolutely just hit it off, just from the get go.
Yeah.
And so, and have been friends since then. But that was where it came from. Is I just, I was at it wasn't even a networking event. We were all entrepreneurs, but it was just we got out on a ski trip. And he needed something with a course that he was trying to do. I had the specific need for that, and that's how that happened. That's how that connection
Yeah.
worked, and we just found out
Very
there was a lot more in common.
synergistic.
Yeah, yeah,
That's cool.
yeah, and it kinda
So
comes to that.
now you have your own company.
I do,
You've done a lot of different things.
yeah. April 10th is
I'll
10
call
years.
it well-rounded. You're a well-rounded
Yep.
business owner. Um, Tell me a little bit about how you help people now in your business.
So one of the things I noticed, uh, I like to we all solve problems. That's what we do as entrepreneurs. I don't care what it is, we're solving a problem somewhere. And a lot of times we have run into these problems and we like to help other people solve those problems. And that's where I got into the marketing side. That's why I got into webinars. I saw so many people who were just, they either were trying to say what they were trying to say in a webinar, they were trying to teach too much, or they were trying to do it wrong.
Mhm.
And I looked back on that going, no, there's got to be a better way. Pulled in the education side of it, to be able to explain, not just teach, but actually explain the concepts behind it, do that in a very efficient way that wasn't going to bore the audience. And how do I make all of that work? And the very first entrepreneur. So what I also did is I latched onto an entrepreneur when I first got started 10 years ago. And his name is Chris. I still good friends, still do work with him. But he was trying to explain, let me start with this story. He was trying to explain life insurance, and especially designed and engineered type of life insurance called infinite banking. Now,
Yeah,
this thing
yeah,
was probably the hardest thing to teach because here's a life insurance policy and I don't care what the death benefit is. I can
yeah,
take a loan and I don't have to pay it back. 100 things that were causing people to just call BS.
yeah,
And as part of a pivot, he now had to go into this world. And so he had this presentation that was done already, but it had a lot of things in it that were not easy to understand. And especially with something that was going to cause this much cognitive dissonance, it was going to be a problem. So we worked on it, rehearsed the thing, got it down. He's still using the same presentation to this day. And I realized I love doing this. And so that was where the help came from, is I realized there was a better way to do it than the traditional Russell Brunson way of handling it, and the traditional kind of high
yeah.
pitched sales, and being able to take all of that and parlay it together. And so long
How
end of the
much
story.
of what you do you take the person's like personality into account?
Oh,
So, a lot of people try the perfect webinar and they do not do it right.
yeah.
Even if they follow step by step exactly what Russell does,
Mhm.
nobody else is him. And so delivering that perfect webinar in a way that gets the same type of results is very few and far between.
Yeah.
So, how much does a person's general demeanor and personality come into play whenever you're helping them create this type of presentation?
So it comes into play, but I'd like to pivot from that a little bit because there's another side to it too. Um, while I was in this journey with webinars and keynotes and things, I realized I'm really good at telling stories, and that
Hmm.
stories have this incredible power. And this is also one of the things I've learned because my mom's a neuropsychologist and she knows how your brain works. When you tell somebody a story, it lights up their entire brain. There are literally, and they only found this about 15 years ago. There are literally cells inside your brain that permeate every part of your brain that light up as soon as you have an emotional connection with somebody. Stories create that emotional connection. Where I work mainly with coaches. Most coaches are doing similar variations of the same thing. So let's go back to what the Russell Brunson thing is. So what the Russell Brunson thing is, pitch me your features. Like, what are your specific things? And that's not what coaches do best. And that's why people tend to fall into that gap. They try to teach the features. They try to give, here's why you should buy from me. Better way to do that is I went through story brands. I
Yeah.
really love story brand. So I kind of have this combination story brand, little Nancy Duarte, who is I'm a massive fan of hers, and then a little bit of the perfect webinar, mix it all together and come up with more of a story based. I want to hear your backstory. I want to hear what you went through. So going back to what you were saying about trying to help people. My story was I made all these mistakes. I tried the perfect webinar and it bombed. But what I did is I went through it, iterated, and now that's how I help other people, is to be able to mix everything together. Talk about a story.
Yeah.
Don't just pitch me. Talk about your story. Where did you get? You're my guide. Like, I want to resonate with you. I've got a client, Michael, divorced dad, early 50s, has, had all of these issues with the divorce. And that's what he talks about. He's writing a book on it. Like, how did he co-parent with a very aggressive person? And how do you deal with that? People aren't going to go to him and say, "Oh, well, you're a coach. I'll go to you." They're going to be like, "Look, I'm a divorced dad. This sucks. I need to talk to another divorced dad who's been through on the other end of this, who can be my
Yeah.
guide to help me through it." The stories are really what help with that.
Russell is really good at stories. And I
Mhm.
think when people are trying to recreate that perfect webinar formula,
Yeah.
they are not adding in their stories
Mhm.
the right way. They're going straight for that pitch, that stack, right?
Yeah.
And like, you get this and you get this and you like that's what's not working. But how I think it's really important to pull stories out of people because
Yeah.
if you're the person, it's just us. It's just what we did. It's not
Yes.
anything like what? I just sent my kid to college. No big deal.
Mhm.
Like, but if you can have someone help you articulate
Mhm.
really what happened and turn that thing into a story. That's where do you do that? Do you
Yeah.
help extract that information? Because I think Russell actually coined this term. It's just itis.
Yeah.
It's just this. It's just, I just did this.
Yep.
Whatever. It's because it comes so naturally for you.
Yeah.
I just do this. Then
Mhm.
you don't really feel like you need to talk about it because it was so easy for you to do that thing. So then we don't tell a story about it.
Yeah.
So do you extract that seemingly mundane daily stuff that is actually the best part of the story
Mhm.
from your clients to help them become better storytellers?
Absolutely. I use this, this is actually how, I had a podcast. This is how it became a thing. I use AI to help me with taking notes because what I want to do is focus on hearing that story and hearing the details behind it. And one of my favorite sayings is, "Take me back to the time when. What did this?" And I'll prompt people. What did it smell like? What did it look like? What were the colors around you? Because I want to bring them into a sensory world.
Mhm.
Bring them back to that moment. I think a lot of times we've done a lot of amazing things in our lives, and you're right. We don't think about exactly what it is until you take me back to that moment and you have to describe what the wallpaper was. And now I've
Yeah,
taken you back to that moment, and now it's like, "Wow, I did that," it
yeah.
happens to me as well. So that's really what it is. It's more about it's like an interview, like a podcast. We sit down. What was that? What was the sequence of events that led you to blank? What did that look like for you? And so when extracting that story, that's usually the way I'll do it. Because 'cause you're right, it's really difficult to be able to say that, to be able to tell that story. A lot of my clients are guys too, and guys don't usually do very well with this. We're not,
Yeah,
we're
they're
like,
not very
I do that
flowery
thing.
in there.
Yep. It's been an exciting challenge, but often, you can still get that out, still get that tone right, still make sure that it sounds like that person. I don't usually write a script per se. I will at first just to give people an idea, but the
Mhm.
way that I'll write slides is, here's the 3 topics you have to talk about. Here's the time frame you do. Go talk about this.
Yeah,
Works a lot better for people as well.
I
So
love
yeah,
it. Yeah, I think it's really easy, and it goes back to what you said, you're just too close to it,
yeah,
and you need
yeah.
someone else to come in and kinda go, "Wow, people tell me stuff all the time that they're like, "Wow, I can't believe you do that," and I'm just like, "What? This is
Oh, it's
no
Tuesday.
big deal, yeah, it's
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah,
That's what
yeah,
I do."
yeah,
So,
yeah,
it's really powerful to have that ability to extract those stories, those emotional stories from your clients and just help them structure it in a way that can help people follow them onto the next step.
yeah, exactly.
So what's next for you? You've told us a little bit about how you got started in this journey and then kind of where you're at now. What do you see is coming up, in the near future for you and your business?
So, because I'm one of those people, I don't want only one direct stream of income. I'm helping a friend of mine out with an AI powered accounting software. This was just something that comes from my old world where, the nerd will never leave. But it was also coming from the teaching and the learning and development industry, being able to talk to business people and being able to translate to nerd. I speak fluent nerd, I speak fluent business, and kind
Yep,
of
that's
often they
great.
don't mix. So
Yeah. And then
that'll
you
be coming
also
out
can
here.
take that and you can talk to AI about it because it's really important whenever you're building something that's AI powered, usually AI is helping you,
Mhm.
and being able to articulate the prompt
Yeah,
to AI is also very important. So I guess that could fall into the nerd category of talk, but I don't know. I think you have to be able to articulate. powerfully and succinctly to AI to
Yes.
get the actual thing that you want.
You do, and prompt engineering is a thing for that reason. You can't just say, "Build me a webinar." Okay, that's not gonna end well for you.
Mhm.
And it's gonna look decent, but it's still not really good at it, and that's where I can kinda pull in some of the tech side. I know how LLMs work in the background, so I can kinda say, "Okay, how are we gonna do this?" You're right, being able to say, "This is what I want, and here are the structure behind it, and here are the variables involved. Here's the style of" even when we're creating webinars, because I do use AI for some point, could see it about 70% done. Then I have a human copywriter on my team to actually complete it.
Yeah,
But they need to hear the tone of voice. Are we going to be aggressive? Are we not going to? What is you know, uh, you know, the tone of voice and various things. I need that input in there too. So yeah, you are
great.
right. So yeah, the software is going to be one of them. Then I've got the marketing company, which I'm currently scaling right now. So this is company number 3. It's a little different when you're doing it as a solopreneur. I have a small team, but I'm the one who's mainly in
Mhm.
charge of it. The last one we had an executive team around us, so it was a little different to do it on your own. That was a
Yeah.
transition.
What about the
Yeah.
person saying, "Aren't webinars dead?" Like, people don't wanna watch a webinar anymore. They don't wanna do this. What's your answer to that?
I would say no, I don't think they're dead. I think we have to pivot a little bit on them. I think the perfect webinar has worked really well for 25 some odd years, but I don't think people want that high pitch anymore, and I don't think that's going to work. I still don't think they're not dead. There's different reasons why. For me, I'll use webinars and podcasts, and I use them synergistically.
Mhm.
Webinars are really good to kind of show people what you do and see how that fits into their reality. And I don't think we're ever going to be away from that. Podcasts now let me get to know you personally a little bit better. It's more of a conversation back and forth versus actually sitting and just hearing somebody talk to you for a while. I don't really see them going out at any time in the near future. I think we're going to get a lot of really bad webinars out there because AI looks like it does a decent job, but it really doesn't. So
Yeah,
I think that's when people are saying they're going to die or AI is just going to write all of these webinars. I have tested that pretty extensively and I haven't seen that. So I just don't think, I think people are still going to want to see more about somebody and learn more about somebody if it's a high ticket item. Like low ticket items, yeah, I don't think webinars, if you're selling a $50 product, a webinar is not
don't
appropriate
need it.
strategy. No.
Yeah,
Unless it's part of a larger strategy where you're doing that as a self-liquidating offer. So that's part. But nobody's going to drop $5,000 on a coaching program unless they get to know you better. And I still think webinars are
yeah,
the best way to do that.
I get
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
I had another question.
I am
Oh,
so
well,
happy that I'm not the only person that happens to.
sorry.
Or my train of thought
It
derailing.
just happens these days. I don't know. Certain age, it happens,
Yeah.
whatever. It's fine, but it's all right. We're over time anyway. So, if people wanted to learn more about you, learn about how you can help them with their webinars,
Mhm.
what's the best way for them to find you?
Best way, website is theauthorityforge.com. You can also find me Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, it's all under The Authority Forge. Remember The Authority Forge, because that's how I roll. And yeah, all of the
Okay,
major links.
great. Thanks so much for being with us today, Andrew. It was great having you. And I'm going to reconsider having a webinar because I don't have one right now.
Well, I think it's a great idea. So the other real quick thing, webinars are also a really great way to do market research. I can tell if
True.
my messaging is hitting or not.
Nice.
Just a thought on it.
Perfect. Thanks
Yep.
a lot, Andrew. Looking forward to talking to you again soon.
Looking forward to talk to you. Talk to you soon.